Hey kids, do you like professional wrestling? Well, we like professional wrestling too. This week, The Athletic with a hit piece on Lee Fitting and the lazy river of wrestling criticism. Is Ricochet a geek or is this some sort of supervillain origin story? We'll discuss that, maybe. And in Vader Club from WCW Saturday Night, 1996, the Belfast Bruiser versus Lord Steven Regal. I am Jeff Hawkins on vacation in Scottsdale, Arizona. He is Chris Novembrino. I am full on day drinking every day now since I'm on vacation. It did not help, Chris, because I did a retro podcast yesterday. Do you remember the episode of AEW Dynamite from 2019 that ended that year, where it was the ascent of the Dark Order, and they had it was the initiation of John Silver and Alex Reynolds, and that was the same week that I guess NXT head to head ended with Rhea Ripley getting put on everybody's shoulders after beating Shayna Baszler. It's the AEW Dynamite that started with the Lucha Brothers versus Hangman and Omega as a tag team match. I had to watch that for Fight Game Media. And I'm here to tell you, Chris, a lot of the same problems that are still happening in AEW were happening 5 years ago.
We're already there. They were already there. And that's why, as I am seeing so many people's tunes change, my YouTube feed this week recommended me about a 40-minute long the fall of Tony Khan / AEW like retrospective over the last year, where they're talking about all the various storylines, and I feel like I'm like sitting here going, do I need to file a plagiarism claim? Like, is all right, no, well, welcome to the bandwagon, all y'all. So
Yes.
glad to have you along. You want to get on the Nove train? You want to ride with Conductor Hawkins? By all means, yeah. Like, let's do it.
We've been here for a while. You said you had a story about your
Oh yeah. So yesterday, Hawkins, I am teaching one of my fabulous guitar lessons. I am on a Zoom call with actually a listener to shake them ropes too. Hello, Pierre. Hope you are doing well today. And I am trying to educate Pierre about various guitar chords. We're actually working on take 5 and getting the little 5 count. Yeah, getting the little 5 count down, breaking it down into 3s and 2s and stuff. And all of a sudden, I get a text from a guy at my job that I never work with, because there's 2 locations and I work at one and he works at the other, informing me that I am fired as of, which is why we're taping on Friday. And I reading this, I apparently all of this is just absolute news to me. I'm reading. Apparently, I've received multiple customer complaints about food, of which I just run the food and I do dishes primarily. So I don't know how I could be possibly duffing food orders. And then also hygienic concerns, which was news to literally everyone around me, and like has been a source of like laughter, because it's like, oh, you mean Chris, the guy who likes to take hour-long showers sometimes twice a day? Like, you mean like, 2 shower a day Chris, who like like
at least had the decency to say budget cuts as opposed to making it about you.
yes, contriving stuff, right? And it was like multiple hygienic complaints, and I was like, so you're telling me that apparently there have been multiple complaints about my hygiene by customers, but nobody ever wanted to bring it up to me. And rather than bringing it up to me, we're just going to fire me out of the blue. And I'm supposed to believe that's what's really going on here.
What did you ask to see any of these complaints?
I'm there one day a week, and I was there to help out my friend Tom. So, like, okay. I mean,
it's not worth the squeeze.
No,
hey.
no, because like Tom, my girlfriend, who actually is a manager in another kitchen, my friend Reed, who is a lawyer, multiple people have been like, yeah, this doesn't sound legal, Chris. Like, there's no documentation. Like supposedly, there's been multiple violations of which you have no documentation. You never had any meetings. There's no text messages. There's no nothing. There's no paper trail. There's no nothing to suggest that any of this has happened. So, but I don't care enough to sit and politic over a $15 an hour dishwasher job and bring it to court. right?
Right.
No, I don't. But I actually called my buddy up who I was there helping out. I think basically there's a power play going on against him. I don't really think this is about me. I think it's the guys at the other location are trying to get him out of his location. Essentially, like there's a little bit of a tribal warfare between the two restaurants. And my friend is suddenly found himself in the midst of a game of Survivor, and I'm the first blow here. But yeah, no, it was strange because I'm reading all of this. I'm just like, was this meant for me? That was literally my first reaction. Is I read it a second time to make sure that one, I understood what was in the message, and two, that it was in fact directed at me because I was so flummoxed by the message I had received.
I have decided that if I am ever fired from a job, and I have been blessed to not been fired from a gig, I don't want to be fired at the end of the year. Fire me in the middle of the year or whatever. I think it's bad taste. I'm seeing a lot of people I know that are getting, oh, I got let go this week. And I'm like, it is a week before Christmas.
Right.
I know you're doing this for the year, but
no, I know, and I'm pissed about it too because it's like you knew you were gonna fire me on Monday. Why did you wait until Friday when it's the week before Christmas? And now it puts off how much longer I have to start looking for a job. I could have been looking for a job all week, looking for replacement work or whatever. And instead, you do this to me on Friday because it's some managerial bullshit that says, oh, well, if you fire someone on the weekend, then they won't be pissed at you. Hey, they'll have an entire weekend of cool. Blah, 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 blah. Like this sad, like clerical crap rather than remembering that people have families and bills that they have to cover, and to do things like this, actually, you're pulling bread out of people's mouths. And if you want to go back to that managerial tripe, well, here's a really good way to ensure resentment. Screw someone out of their wallet harder. It's one thing to like sever a financial relationship, but when you sever a financial relationship and you screw someone out of a couple few $100s, they're going to hate you. Like if I see this Tyler guy, I got words for him now because like I got nothing to lose, and he didn't even do me the courtesy of giving me a week to be looking for a job here going into the holidays. Now I'm going into Christmas week and New Year's week sending off job apps, and that sucks. I think we all know how that goes. You're not going to be back in work until at best the first week of January, but probably the second week of January. So effectively, when you bonk someone here on the 18th of December, you're screwing them until the 10th of January.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's get into the wrestling then. WWE SmackDown is officially making the move to 3 hours, confirming what had been expected. WWE announced today that SmackDown will become a 3-hour show starting with its first episode of 2025. That Friday, January 3rd episode is taking place from the Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona, and will air live on USA Network from 8 to 11 Eastern Time. Why? Stop it. I expect now a lot of call-ups from NXT for both shows if they're both going to be 3 hours, but boy, I don't have the time for all this.
No, I don't either. And I continue to believe that the teachable lesson of 24 and the last 5 years even is just you don't need more hours of television. You need better shows, better hours, not more, better, not more, better.
Make it more interesting, and you don't need the 3 hours. Just everybody will watch you for an hour or two. Trust me.
And the math will math in terms of ad ratings. We're
going to exhaust our fan base. That's what they're going to do here.
Yes,
to me.
Absolutely. We're going to be back to the days of the refined power watch that I used to do, where I would have it on 1.5 and like burn through stuff and be sitting there with the fast forward button, like kind of like
YouTube has all the highlights. I will wait for it, and I
don't like that though. I want to be able to enjoy a sports universe. I don't like feeling like, oh shit, if I don't watch this at like blitz speed, I'm not gonna have quality insight for the show here. I need to like somehow get through all this crap. And I'm going to use the word crap in this case. Where I'm siphoning through the crap to find the nuggets.
I enjoy the wrestling. It's just one of those things where it's like, my God, it's like, could you imagine if you were a WWE fan and it's 3 hours on a Monday and 3 hours on a Friday. It's one of those things where it's like, do you want to watch other shows in your lifetime?
Right. Or are you doing anything else? Like, for example, right now, for the last month while I've been sick here, and kind of landlocked, have been sitting down and playing Octopath Traveler 2, which I love. And, that's one other thing for WWE to be competing against is I could be doing something else that's more I could play the new Indiana Jones game. The sneaky thing is not my favorite mechanic in a video game. But it's good. It's good. There's other things you could be losing your time in, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Books. Books are good.
Octopath 2, man. Octopath 2 is fantastic stuff, Jeff.
Rey Mysterio Sr., Tijuana wrestling legend, best known for launching the career of his Hall of Fame nephew, has passed away at 66. Mysterio's death was announced on Friday through a brief statement one of his sons shared to Facebook. Real name Miguel Angel Lopez Diaz. Mysterio was a wrestler, trainer, and mentor. He was the uncle of WWE star Rey Mysterio, who became an all-time great after being trained by his uncle and receiving permission to use the Rey Mysterio Jr. as his wrestling name. I don't know enough about his wrestling, but I thought attention should be paid, and just that's about it. Do you have any other thoughts?
I don't have any other thoughts. Obviously his legacy is probably the most important luchador of all time in Rey Mysterio Jr. Rey Jr., dude. In terms
more
of
than Santos.
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna say it, dude.
Okay.
Like, you have important in Mexico, and then you have important.
Okay, you're making you're making that distinction. Got it.
I'm making that distinction. No, dude, Rey took the lucha libre style and made it a global style, and there are so many wrestlers that we watch on a weekly basis that have some degree of lineage back to the style that Rey Jr. brought in WCW all the way into his early days in WWE. Like, before he just became 4 moves of doom Rey Mysterio. This guy really popularized lucha libre and also paved the way for so many other luchadors to get work in the United States in the 1990s. Think about how many luchadors in the 1990s got work thanks to Rey Mysterio being popular.
Conan would tell you it's because of him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of people love Max Moon.
Oh, wow. He's not even the best Max Moon. Would be Paul Diamond, sir.
A lot of people love Max Moon.
Jeff Hawkins, bad company apologist till the day he dies. Saturday night's main event, the most hyped television show in years on the strongest network, did 1,590,000 viewers with a .42 in 18 to 49, .23 in 18 to 34. Now, it's successful, but not overwhelmingly successful. And God knows I've heard people with bad takes on this week.
How did it do? You know what I'd be interested in seeing?
The Peacock numbers?
Yes, day after numbers. Because, people go out and do shit on Saturday night. But
700,000, I think, was the number that was given.
On the day after, right. So then that brings it up to something closer to 2.2 million, which is like not bad. Because I'm not thinking the people who are watching it on Peacock the day after are repeat watchers. I think these are the people who didn't catch it the day of.
Yeah, and I would agree with that too. Dave, good old Dave, Uncle Dave looked at the women's number being low and said, "Women be shopping." I just went, oh, that's so cringe. Look, here's the best excuse for this, is that this is the last Saturday of December where you can really throw a holiday party of some kind.
Right.
Because tomorrow is the big getaway day for a lot of families and people because the kids are officially out of school. And to me, it's also the thing is Saturday night's main event was never a primetime show for me. There was the one with Hogan and Andre that one time called the main event. But to me, part of the charm of Saturday night's main event is putting it on at 11:30 on the Saturday instead of Saturday Night Live, which, by the way, that week got 4.2 million viewers. I watched the show. It was very, very good. I'll talk about it a little bit more in the Lazy River, but it's one of those things where it's like, yes, Chris. And also, when you have 6 additional hours plus of primetime wrestling, do you need the extra 2? And it's one of those things where I just think you said it when we were talking about the SmackDown thing. I think there's a fatigue factor. I think there's a certain limit of how much professional wrestling is appointment viewing and how much can be pushed off to later or hear how the show is, and then you can pick and choose, et cetera, et cetera. And I just think while PLEs do well, it was hyped, but it wasn't at that level, so to speak. And it had kind of an A- B+ roster. You had Cody, but you didn't have Roman, you didn't have The Rock, you didn't have, a lot of other things going for it. But I mean, it was still a very solid show. But at the same time, it's like, yes, this is that Friday and Saturday last week were prime holiday Christmas party times. So I wouldn't expect it to be a big number, to be honest with you.
No, I don't think there's a whole lot to parse about TV ratings going into the Christmas holiday. Because as you said, holiday parties, people holiday shopping, just people's rhythms being a little bit different than the rest of the year. That happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People like Christmas parties. It may shock you.
Yeah, right. I mean, especially if you've got like work Christmas parties or whatever,
Those will be midweek though, usually. Like the Fridays and Saturdays are the ones you do for friends.
Yeah, it's true.
The Athletic coming out this week with a critical piece about Lee Fitting and his treatment of women. I want to talk about this a little bit. I haven't listened to Joe and Rich's breakdown of this, nor have I listened to Mike and JD's, because I kind of want to keep my own thoughts in my head. My overall impression of this, and this might be the Gen X talking a little bit, I like the writers of this. Like, I like Katie Strang a lot. She was formerly the hockey beat writer at ESPN. I'm not doubting her credentials. And I'm not here to absolve Lee Fitting per se. But my takeaway coming from the article, Chris, was that it didn't make the case that they were trying to make. And here's why I thought that. Number one, all sources were anonymous. Okay. That's a big one for me now. I get that people, we were afraid of being, of retribution. And I was like, but all those people in that old guard of ESPN are gone. There is no retribution to be had at ESPN anymore if you go on the record with this. The other thing is just, it became, I was reading it kind of almost like a law brief, to be honest with you. And they started with the weakest stuff. They started with, he was a fraternity guy, and he'd play golf with the executives. Now, I get that you're trying to basically say that this is an old boys club at ESPN. If you've read the book, those guys have all the fun. I believe it's Tom Shales and somebody. Don't quote me on that. But, beat by beat, talking about how basically Bristol, which there's nothing else to do in Bristol other than ESPN, or go to the local bar and drink type of a thing. There was some, very immature people working at ESPN, and they would hit on, and it became very incestuous at times. I am not going to absolve Lee Fitting of any of these things, but a lot of these things are things that aren't sexual, but they're crass. They're things that are part of them are things he did for his job. Like if he said that, like the Notre Dame cheerleaders were ugly, I'm not viewing that as Lee Fitting is a misogynist who hates women. I'm viewing that as a guy who produces weekly television college football games that doesn't want to show cheerleaders that he doesn't feel guys will think are hot. Is it right? No. But I think a lot also has to do with understanding the ESPN corporate structure and culture. And the case that they were trying to make, let me get that out of the way, because I think a lot of people took it as this was the behavior that led to Lee Fitting's firing. It wasn't. The behavior that led to Lee Fitting's firing was that he was submitting things to the Emmy committee with false names so that he could give statues to other employees at ESPN. And he tarnished the good name of ESPN journalism, which is what Norby Williamson, the guy who fired him, was all about. ESPN in the mid to late 90s was a three-headed monster of Norby Williamson, Mark Shapiro, who's now part of TKO and was the guy who hired Lee Fitting for this job at WWE, and John Skipper. Norby's the guy who made ESPN, or who basically shepherded SportsCenter into the Dan Patrick, Keith Olbermann version of SportsCenter into being very popular. He kind of gave a bit of a loose rein, but it was all about the sports highlights, but with some personality. John Skipper, who was the head of the network, was the guy who was really about the brand extension and being more cultural, and ESPN the magazine, and we need to have more personalities here. We need to build shows around those personalities. He's now the head of Meadowlark Media, which is Dan Le Batard's outlet. So like all those afternoon talking head journalist shows, with the exception of Pardon the Interruption, but that was the Rosetta Stone of all these shows, were Skipper's idea, in addition to things like, being a little bit more culture versus politics, which started to get the viewership down. The ascent of the Michael Smith and Jamil Hill Sports Center, which was less focused on sports highlights and more focused on culture highlights. And Skipper was the guy who hired Fitting at ESPN and really gave him the ascent. The thing about ESPN is you could build yourself a fiefdom at ESPN, but as soon as you became a monstrous egomaniac and you screwed up, they fire you because you're making too much money, pretty much. But it's one of those things. I'll get to more of this, Chris, but after you read it, what were your thoughts?
I mean, look, he is not some sort of victim in my eyes. I don't think he's that swell of a guy. I'm certainly receptive to the notion that you're saying of he wasn't some crazy outlier in terms of what ESPN culture was back then. And there's always, I guess, a bit of a question of, like how much of that is following what the culture is and how much of that is defining what the culture is. And it seems, frankly, like in his case, there's a bit of both. I don't find myself coming up with some sort of nuanced point of sympathy for this guy.
I'm not coming up with sympathy, but I am coming up with. They're trying to tie this into saying that he's just the same as Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis.
That
was the pull quote in the Observer talking about this, because there was somebody in WWE who said he's no different from Vince. Listed two other names that are well known, no longer with the company, but never implicated anything publicly in Laurinaitis. They were all like that. And I think that was the point of this piece, is they're all like that kind of a thing. And I can understand that, but there's a lot of the examples here that are just things that producers in television do because this is a cosmetic business.
So specific. And so I okay, I'll grant that, right? That
the hotel keys thing is the one thing that I kind of go, okay, was he in power then, or was he like a junior producer who was trying to get laid because there's nothing else to do in Bristol type of a thing?
But there's just something spectromatic here that's lost to equate what he is doing, which is sexism, to what Vince McMahon
Yes.
and John Laurinaitis are accused of doing, and that is understood and implied inside of this article. Like, we know what they're accused of, and you're not even getting close to the water's edge of lobbying that allegation. You're just sort of going, bad shit with women. This is all bad.
Yeah, and wrestling media
definitionally it is that, but it's not that at the same time.
Yeah, and wrestling media doesn't have the nuance to do that, so they're trying to lump it in like, oh, this is why that's why he gets along with Vince and Triple H and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's a quote in here that, John Skipper said he was never made aware of any issues involving fitting when he was running ESPN. I believe him. I don't believe that it was like people were afraid to go to HR, because I'll tell you this, Chris, and this is from my personal knowledge. I worked at the law firm that handled all of ESPN's human resources stuff. And once that book came out, that book about those guys have all the fun, they cleaned up. Now, am I saying that they punished harshly stars? No. You got multiple chances to screw up if you were a star at ESPN, based on certain filings and stuff. But they did punish people. And a lot of people straightened up and flew right, even though there would be occasional lapses. There was an incident with John Saunders that I remember that nobody knows about. It never made air, but he got suspended for a few weeks. But it's like, it mostly involved drink. But like, the one that got me in the article was, he joked about making bed checks, and I was like, that's not sexist. That's something that a manager does, or even like in team sports, it's what the coaches do to make sure the players are in bed in time because there's a big game tomorrow in the morning. I read that. I went, that's part of your big tell-all investigative story.
Making sure that your employees are in their hotel room or wherever at 10 p.m. or whatever weird set.
Joking about that. And it's like, okay.
Right, because we have the joke would be something like, oh, we got to be up tomorrow. We got to start at 6 a.m.
Yes,
I'm going to be doing bed checks around 9:30.
Yes.
And
that's
not
fitting was fired because Norby Williamson was the guy running things at that time. And Norby and Skipper really kind of clashed heads at the time, but Fitting basically, tarnished the good name of ESPN, so he was out of there. I mean, like, Norby's the guy who hated guys like Pat McAfee having a show. He doesn't like dude bros. So he likes the straight sports stuff. So Lee Fitting doing this college game day thing, which is like a party type atmosphere, that's the kind of thing that Norby, who no longer works there, would hate. But it's like, if I'm writing an article, and if I'm Katie Strang and Andrew Marchand, I believe is the other, and he was a freelancer for ESPN for a while too. I'm not saying they're hacks or anything to that effect, but when you're building the case in your article, you start with the strongest stuff, and there wasn't like people feeling pressured for sex. There were people who I felt pressured that I had to go out and drink with the boys. And those things are two very, very different things. And one may just be self-imposed, like I thought I had to go out and drink with my coworkers or they wouldn't like me, sort of a thing. That's kind of a you thing more than he told me I wouldn't get a promotion if I didn't sleep with him or whatever.
Right. It's not the same thing. I mean, and like, look, as someone, in other news this week, 1 year alcohol free here, and like, working in an environment where all my colleagues, some of them were bartenders, I definitely felt a little bit like the outsider, not being able to sit down and have a drink, but it was never like, oh, I'm being boxed out. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, I never had that. That's not the same thing as, well, Chris, if you want to get ahead, let's go to the walk-in.
Early ESPN, I could see that because, like, it was the only thing to do in Bristol was everybody would then go after SportsCenter or whatever, go to the local watering hole and drink and other things of that effect. Once it got to be like a road show with college game day and stuff, I don't, you can get me there. You just have to prove it. And I don't think they proved it. Like even with the thing where he's like, yeah, and he said about going to Mississippi State, oh, good, sundresses and alcoholic beverages. Okay. That's what Mississippi State is on a football day. I'm sorry. Has anybody not been to an SEC football game around here? They're not going to go, man, we're here to investigate Mississippi State's great English program. They're there to see the hot co-eds and to have a good
These
time.
are not states known for education. These are states known for schools that have sports programs.
There's like 5 Power 5 conference schools that ESPN Game Day has not been to on a football day. Guess what one of those schools is? Mine. I've never been there for that because our football team stinks. I read this and I go, okay, I don't even know if this is smoke searching for a fire. I think this is like embers searching for smoke at times. And I just thought some people were just like, and of course, the people that I knew that were very upset about this article were the people who kind of have their little axes to grind and their corners of wrestling criticism on the internet. And I understood it. But I'm reading it. I'm going, am I Gen X and just immune to such things, or am I just not seeing what was really, really wrong here? And I am willing to say that Lee Fitting is a piece of crap.
Yeah, I mean,
just need
texting
more
a colleague in 2018, "You look hot," is a douche move. Like,
okay,
yeah.
yes, that is. But I want context. Is this an on-air talent? And he's saying this as a producer.
Also, I guess I would want to. I mean, I would want to know how close they were.
Yes.
Yeah, as friends at that point.
There's a lot of.
I mean.
Yeah.
Look, I have had female colleagues with whom I am collegial and friendly, but not in any sort of like wanted to date sort of way where like, they like, we'd be sitting in the break room, like at the tram or whatever they should be. I'm like, oh, damn, you look hot there. Like, like it's
Yes.
not like, yeah, it's not a, but
I need the context.
I need context, right? Like I'm not even giving him the benefit of the doubt.
No,
I'm just saying, show your work.
Okay, we're both in the same place. Yeah. I'm not giving him the benefit of the doubt.
I do not feel an ounce. Like as I read this, my intuition and everything does not conjure up an ounce of sympathy or even benefit of the doubt. It is more frustration that this piece does not seem to show its work.
Yes. Okay, good. You and I are on the same page then, because I was afraid I was being a little callous, as I can be at times. But it's one of those things where it's like, I don't have sympathy for him. You just can't get me to pick up the pitchfork and demand that WWE and TKO fire him. And I think that's what a lot of people want, is they want
right. Well, and like, right. And then why? I don't know that it's any piece's job to get us there. I mean, if the facts are damning, and people can read the facts and then decide how they feel about it. But this definitely feels like it's more trying to get us to grab the pitchforks, and I don't know. Like,
yeah, and we can always say
about that. That's what politics is.
I mean,
for.
and we don't know if Katie. I don't know if Katie Strang has an axe to grind with ESPN as her former employer either. I'll say that, not to trash her. I just don't know. I don't know how she left the company. Although she never worked in Bristol, she was kind of like a freelancer who, like, I think she lived in Buffalo and was covering the Sabres for a while. Yeah, it's to me it's like, okay, you have a thesis, you just don't have the goods to prove the thesis for me. And I'm just sitting here going, I am willing to listen to your case, counselor. I would just like a more beyond a reasonable doubt argument, as opposed to a circumstantial argument that he's a frat boy who liked golf, and you know how those people are, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, I'm willing to listen.
Yeah, right. That gets me to, like, I don't know. I mean, you know how those people are. Yeah, I do, and I'm definitely willing to listen. But you can't just trade on that. It's
right.
In the same way that, like, trying to nail someone down for having, I don't know, a subscription to Penthouse and Playboy is not necessarily the most compelling, case argument for me either. He's a rotten guy. He's got a subscription to Playboy.
He may objectify women. Does that mean that he's...
Well, to me, it's almost like maybe he might also just
He may just want to
more,
do that in the
he
privacy
may be
of
a
his
little
home.
bit more, yeah, he might even be a little bit more honest with himself in his relationship and the masturbation than everyone else.
Yes, he may just need, he may just
Yeah,
not want to.
he knows what he wants and he gets what he wants.
He doesn't want the cookies in his browser history. He may
Yeah,
just want the magazines. He likes.
Yeah.
It's like people who like to read books on, the physical books versus Kindle.
I need more, right? The Playboy subscription could mean something, or it could mean nothing.
Yes.
It's sort of where I'm at. Like the frat boy thing could mean something, or it could mean nothing.
Right.
It's
literally that. It's like I know plenty of people who were in fraternities that were good people, and they did.
I also know some of the rapiest guys I've ever met who were in fraternities.
Yes.
The worst, rapiest dudes in the world. So could mean something, might not mean anything.
Might not mean anything. Okay, so we're both on the same page on that. Let's go to the lazy river of wrestling criticism. Whatever we watched, whatever we had time for. Oh, Chris, since I teased it at the beginning, can we please start with Ricochet?
Oh God, this guy is white hot.
Chris, do you know that he is going to be wrestling for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship in January?
That's cool. That's neat. He's a dork, and I think it's cool that nerds get a chance at the title in this company too.
And apparently, this is supposed to be in service of some bigger New Japan AEW war that's coming. Because we don't have enough we're taking over AEW stories. Now we have to have a story with another company of sorts. But yes, Ricochet has added an annoying laugh to his repertoire.
Oh, that's apparently lifted from a rapper.
Yes, I read that as well. I don't know, because I don't think this is the beginning of a supervillain origin story necessarily where he becomes a member of the Hurt Syndicate. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, we see what's going to happen here. He's going to eventually blah, blah, blah. Because we also have another person who is trying to win the affection of the Hurt Syndicate. We haven't seen it in a few weeks, and one Max Caster. So we could be having a Ricochet versus Max Caster type of, can you top this for the love of the Hurt Syndicate? And to me, I'm sitting back here as a storyteller going, what I would do is have those two be a red herring, and then I would bring in Action Andretti and Leo Rush as actual members, because they're actually a hell of a tag team and can do something and are interesting. Look, I think Ricochet is far more interesting potentially as a heel if he starts doing offense that's not Ricochet-like and is more like, I am doing these high-flying moves to put you out of wrestling. I would be here for that. I would be here for less of the Macy's suit and more of, a Hugo Boss suit on Ricochet. I just don't think he has the personality to pull off being a badass.
He's not that guy. He just isn't. I thought this promo made him look goofy, but let's be real here. Take it from the guy who reviewed Lucha Underground. He's never been better than when he was under a mask and silent. And everything he has done in the intervening decades since unmasking as Prince Puma has only made the case that the best thing that they could have ever done for this guy is keep him silent. A thing I was saying on Stipulation 10 years ago. They made him come out and do Prince Puma Speaks, and it was a total dud of a segment.
Yes, I remember
and that was something that they had a year to build up to and a better writing team. Lucha Underground was a better written show for the first couple of seasons than AEW has ever been. And even a better writing team couldn't come up with something good for Ricochet to say. And then Ricochet as Prince Puma couldn't deliver it time and time and time again.
Here's the rule of these characters. If they are badasses when they are silent and they have a large following, do what you have to make sure they don't speak. Because that can ruin that.
Never have Kane speak.
Yeah, or, I'm thinking like the Old West, or even Boba Fett. Like, Boba Fett was a great character, and then in the prequels, they turned him into a dude with daddy issues, and you're just like, this, you've just killed the entire badass aura of intergalactic bounty hunter badass Boba Fett. What are you doing, Star Wars? It's one of those things where it's like, let the badass talk with his guns versus it's like the first time you ever heard Mike Tyson speak and you go, that guy's the baddest man on earth.
I met Mike Tyson. Ever
Did
tell you
you?
that story?
No, you haven't.
So back when I was in middle school and was living in Phoenix, Arizona, I went to Blockbuster Video one Friday night, and the one actually, right where it is. It was at 114th Street and Via Linda.
Via Linda? Okay, yeah. I know where that is.
right where that Safeway is. I don't know if there's still a Safeway there.
The Safeway is no longer there.
Yeah, but that shopping center, there used to be a Blockbuster in there. Terrible parking lot, really, really bad.
Yes.
Really, really bad. Yeah, terrible, terrible parking lot. And I went into the Blockbuster Video, and I was looking at video games in the N64 aisle, and I hear a voice that I knew was Mike Tyson, but I could not believe was Mike Tyson. And I proceeded to walk out from behind the video game thing, look, and see Mike Tyson with one of his handlers or whatever out at the counter. And I grabbed my mom. I'm like, Mom, Mike Tyson's here. And my mom's like, well, do you want to meet him? And I'm like, yeah. And so my mom just walks up to Tyson, asks Tyson if he'll meet me. And Tyson's like, absolutely. And Mike Tyson proceeds to come over, and he goes, your mother says your name is Chris. And I'm like, yeah, my name is Chris. And he's like, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, Chris. And I'll always remember that. He shook my hand, and then he left, and we rented the videotapes. But it's a pleasure.
Did you say anything to him?
I don't recall. This was right after the Lou Savarese fight, where he knocked out Lou Savarese in about 48 seconds and then proceeded to give a meandering, rambling, and legendary promo about Lennox Lewis, where it ends with, I want to eat his children.
Yes.
Praise be to Allah.
Yes.
Perhaps one of the most beautiful two-sentence juxtapositions ever in the English language. Just beautiful stuff, really. No, so I didn't ask him a lot of questions. I certainly was not getting combative with him. He likes to eat children.
Okay, no, fair enough. Your turn on the lazy river here.
All right. So, AEW Dynamite, the Continental Classic remains the wrong vibe for the current time with what you're trying to do on this show, but before everyone starts booing me out of the building here, I gotta say this main event on the Continental Classic was just outstanding.
Darby's a madman.
Darby's a madman. I will also say on that I felt like I don't actually need to watch Darby hurl himself from the top rope onto the corner of the apron or whatever. And there were other spots where they just worked too fast. They would do these incredible looking sequences, like some of the Osprey's hidden blades. Darby's sell on them is outstanding. And then he's standing back up in 2 seconds. And I'm like, shit, man, let that shit breathe. Let it breathe. But God, what an outstanding match, but completely in the same vein as AEW seems to do very nicely. It's an outstanding guitar solo that's in the wrong genre for what the song needs.
On that vein, I am going to say that Mercedes Moné and the week that she has had, she is the best bout machine in the women's division, maybe in any women's division right now. She had a match in Long Beach for New Japan Strong that I believe you can get on New Japan World for free against Hazuki, I believe is the name of the wrestler that I watched. I watched a fan cam version of that before I knew it was for free, and outstanding. I thought the match with Anna Jay was very, very good. I think my one quibble with the Anna Jay match was that Anna Jay needed to have more of a star-making turn in terms of almost beating Mercedes a couple more times. I thought they did her short shrift because they've been telling her story on the various shows for the last couple. Oh, she went to Japan. She's been training. She's been improving. She's ready for this. And then they just kind of cut to, oh, Chris Statlander's watching. So we're going right back to the Statlander tree. And I'm like, why are you doing this to... Anna Jay's been there since day one. Anna Jay was the woman they go, she is gorgeous, and we're bringing her in, and hopefully she improves enough where we can make her a homegrown star here in AEW. And they did the thing, and this reminds me of the thing because also on that AEW match I watched, there was a Statlander Britt Baker match that was okay. She was still doing the dumb alien gimmick, but there was that AEW old 2019 episode also was the 10-minute challenge between Jungle Boy and Chris Jericho that was supposed to make him a star, but then it turned into a Jericho promo on Moxley, and you're like, why didn't we just give Jungle Boy the win here so that he'd be a star type of a thing? I didn't say you needed to make Anna Jay make her the champ, but she should have been a little bit closer. I kind of bit on the Queen Slayer a little bit, but I think she should have had a couple more 2.5 counts on Mercedes, but Mercedes is she's still awesome. I will not have any Mercedes slander here. The character is kind of bad for AEW, but I still love her to death as a wrestler when I watch her.
Yeah, well, look, of all the high-profile acquisitions that AEW has done this year, the only one that they seem to be getting any halfway decent mileage out of is Mercedes Moné. The misusage of Will Ospreay and Okada remains stunning. All they've came up with Kazuchika Okada is a guy saying bitch with a Japanese accent. That is not a gimmick. And honestly,
He's a baby face. He's so weird. He's a baby face saying bitch.
But also the people who care a lot about representation and tend to generally be on AEW's side.
Yes.
Right? We recently got called anti-woke. I feel like I'm about to pivot into one of my patented, I guess it's anti-woke comments here. But the people who care about representation stuff and generally tend to side with AEW and tend to find a way to toe a little party line with them, right? They should be offended at the notion that we have one of the best wrestlers on the planet and the most we could give him is a stereotypical and offensive English gimmick. That's
like
what we
Joe Jitsu from Dick Tracy or something.
Yes, right. It's a little less thought out than Jimmy Wang Yang. This is the level of depth that we're working on right now with Okada, and a lot of people are, in my opinion, far too fine with it. They should actually be on the rafters going, this is some of the laziest crap I have ever seen. This guy's a generational talent. It's like getting Bret the Hitman Hart and making him Mr. Maple Syrup. And what he does is he comes and he's like, oh, I love slapjacks. And he drinks a little bit of maple syrup and he does the Canadian drop kick or some bullshit.
Look, I'm here for that because nothing drove me more nuts than watching Wrestling with Shadows when he said, well, if I didn't go into wrestling, I was going to pursue acting. And I went, no.
What a loss for film it was that you went into wrestling, Bret.
Charismatic dynamo Bret Hart going into commercial
One of my
auditions.
favorite wrestlers of all time. Funny in his own way, but not actually traditionally funny.
My name is Bret. I'm here to read for Johnsonville Sausages.
All right, so Johnsonville Sausages. When I get up in the morning and I'm thinking about what I want for breakfast, I enjoy a good spicy Johnsonville. They also make brats.
I bring up Johnsonville because that's where I ran into Brad Maddox at an audition back in the day. right after he got fired.
He was just good. I thought he got routed a little bit.
A little bit. That was also right after the videos with him and
Oh yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. All right,
So
all
that
right,
was kind of
all
weird to
right, all
look
right.
at him in the
So
eye
you're
a
right.
little bit.
No, that's the thing is, it's like the time moves on, and I forget why we forgot about these people, and then I remember why we forgot about these people, and I'm like, ah, yes, it was good that we forgot about them.
Yes. Your turn, sir.
All right. So sticking with AEW here, I now want to get to some more of the emblematic stupid booking that has made up AEW. This opening match, where we have the Death Riders, the faction that's trying to destroy AEW. Was it the opening match? It might not
No,
have
it
been
was not the opening match.
Whatever.
Mercedes
Who
was the
cares?
opening match.
Yeah,
That's
you
why I
know
was
what
so...
the hell I'm talking about. We're talking
Okay.
about the Death Riders versus the other three guys.
Oh yes, this was stupid.
This is very, very stupid. So we have the Death Riders. They should be destroying and disrupting this show from pillar to post. They
Yes.
should have some sort of interaction with the Bucks and or Chris Daniels on a weekly basis. Chris Daniels should feel powerless and helpless like a Commissioner Gordon figure looking for a Batman. But we're not doing any of that because we instead have Marina Shafir looking curious. And isn't that interesting? That's enough to get this angle through. So anyways, Jon Moxley and his gang of merry men are out after they come out to their stoner jam song. It's like somebody's band jammed on a stoner thing for like 20 minutes, and that's now Moxley's theme song. And he is going to go and face up against the three guys who are challenging for his title this upcoming weekend. Now, theoretically, this could be an okay kind of television match set up for our main event angle here if you told the right story. AEW instead chose to tell a completely asinine story in the ring and on commentary, where we have Excalibur incredulous, upset, indignant that these three guys who are all vying for a singles title in a four-way match here are not all working together for the good of AEW, a company that on a weekly basis nobody gives a real shit about, except when they come out and they say they're team AEW and then lose, and there's no regrouping or anything at all. And he's yelling at Hangman Adam Page. Oh, he's so upset that Hangman Adam Page, a guy who burned down Swerve Strickland's family's home, would not care about other people and not care about the well-being of other people, and instead would be worried about the singles title that he's vying for this weekend. And wanting to get his hands on the champion. Why won't he go to bat for Orange Cassidy, a man who has never been his friend? Everyone looks so stupid. I hate this Death Rider stuff so much because there's not mystery here. It's not intriguing. It's dumb. You never knew where you were going with this when you started it 2 months ago now, and it's just as dumb as it was 6 weeks ago.
Chris,
it's just as thin in terms of premise. The sauce is just as weak as it was 6 weeks ago. And if you like this show, you should hate this shit.
I'll add something to that in a moment, but yes, why are we not building that these three guys, any of them, can beat Jon Moxley at any time? No, instead it's for the honor of AEW. And meanwhile, on this same show, we have a promo from FTR who were kidnapped by the Death Riders, but say, we don't have a problem with your general thesis statement that
you guys are making some good points. Begging the question, as me and my roommate both watching it were, we both screamed, and those are like what would be those good points? Because it's not like the Death Riders have a cohesive thesis, and even if they did, what would possibly be FTR's lash point on this? Like,
sure, you beat us up and left us bleeding on concrete, but we agree there needs to be a change here in AEW. And people, I just went.
This is like being in Northern Ireland, getting kidnapped by Sinn Féin, and then coming back around the next week and going, they do have some points that we agree with. We just didn't like the part where we were kidnapped and tortured.
This is what people do when there's like a horrible crime, say like a CEO of an insurance company that is murdered on the streets of New York, and they go, this is open to dialogue about the greater thing. No, it isn't really. It's just you have your own weird agenda here. It's like, well, at least we're now having a dialogue about AEW and the problems with AEW. Now that you've put bags over our head, kidnapped us, and left us for dead on concrete and bleeding.
The Death Riders are about as sympathetic as that health insurance executive.
Let's move on that.
There you go.
Non-woke.
I know. I'm so anti-woke, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna play fair with my own standards and go to Raw, and say as much as I love CM Punk and as much as I love Drew McIntyre, and even I liked Seth Rollins in this angle becomes ass when it becomes about how Seth Rollins allegedly put this company on his back, and he loves WWE more than CM Punk, who left us all to go to do MMA and AEW.
Corporate fealty is nerd shit.
Corporate fealty is stupid. It's
nerd shit. Terrible. I'm gonna get some coffee.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I liked the part backstage where, Seth and Drew thinks he may have an in to manipulate Seth, and Seth is not a stupid babyface. By the way, Chris, not as stupid a babyface as Daniel Garcia, who goes, I know what's going to happen when I go down there. I'm going to get my ass kicked, but people came here to see a fight. So him and Mark Briscoe go down there and go and get their ass kicked. And I'm supposed to like these guys because apparently I was looking to watch a fight where two good guys who I'm supposed to enjoy get their butts kicked. But nevertheless, I liked that Seth called out Drew and goes, you're not my friend. I like Jimmy and Sammy, even though you have problems with them. I liked that. Like on Saturday Night's main event, they ended with Kevin Owens doing a package pile driver on Cody, and that setting up Kevin actually said hello to Randy while he was fighting Cody. So it set up some things in there. I forgot I didn't talk about Saturday Night's main event in the Lazy River yet, but overall, let me just get the notes because it's a week old and it's a show. Very quick wrestling. Very work ratey wrestling, very to the point wrestling, almost like they were rushed for time, but very good. Io and Liv had a great match. The only thing that really lacked was that Meech and Chelsea Green women's intercontinental title match. But I mean, the three-way was fun, and Kevin Owens and Cody was fun. But that's about 6 different points in one segment.
Yeah. All right. So next we have Toni Storm, who is unstuck from time. She is truly timeless in the sense that she has no sense of time. Tabula rasa, Toni Storm. And this is our new gimmick. RJ City's face was my face, only with disgust. Like, really? We're doing this crap. I get bringing her back as more of a rocker. To bring her back as though she's never been in this company ever before is a form of, it's not stupid babyface, but it's delusional babyface. You could give her ups for some weird degree of consistency in the sense that this Tony, not unlike the previous Tony, has no sense of like what day it is in a weird way. And this Tony, like the previous Tony, is delusional, but she's supposed to be a baby face. Stop being cute with this crap.
I'm going to make it worse for you, Chris, because I was with you on that. I go, an amnesia story in wrestling is stupid. They call it a soap opera, but it doesn't have to be a soap opera. And then I listened to Brian Alvarez, who put out this, and I think he put this out because he was told this by somebody, is that this is possibly timeless Toni Storm playing the role of Toni Storm, the rocker chick, it's Inception kind of a thing. She is taking on the role of a lifetime as timeless Tony Storm to be the rocker Tony Storm. Does that make it any better for you?
No. 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 Because none of this is wrestling. It like I could have even gotten on board with the timeless gimmick if she had done more old school-y type of moves and sort of wrestled that 100 years ago turn of the, mid 20th century, early mid 20th century style a little bit more. And she did a smidge of that. She's a great wrestler.
This is character shit when we want a fight type of thing.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't add anything to it. And Timeless Tony Storm being totally delusional, or new Tony Storm being delusional, is not really a good babyface stuff. It's ironic babyface stuff. It's not stuff that you would actually like. You wouldn't want your child to actually be delusional. Like when we talk about sort of like what is good babyface, isms. Like, do you want your kid to grow up to be delusional?
No,
right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fraxium is the best tag team in WWE and possibly in American wrestling right now.
They're so entertaining, and they keep finding new ways to delightfully thread the needle between character work and in-ring work. They manage to tell the stories in the ring every week. I'm injured. You're injured. We're not getting along. They actually have a lot of depth in the matches, and then all of the high-flying, exciting modern wrestling elements that you would want out of these guys. They deliver it.
If we didn't have teams that were bickering on every brand, including NXT as well, other than Fraxium, it would be a compelling story. But I'm kind of done with this. I'm kind of tired with the New Day, Gargano, Ciampa, and then the other team it's not Out the Mud. It's the other guys, right? Or am I?
No, yeah, it's not OTM. It's the Tyson and Tyreek.
Yes, Tyson and Tyreek. When
they never even had characters, which is why I got my wires crossed on them last week. Is that like they just came out as like we are two big dudes.
No, and the team that should be bickering that would be compelling would be Malik Blade and Idris and Nofi. Because they have such different characterizations of
and they were doing that for a minute, and then then the writing around that just kind of stopped, and the characterization around that just kind of stopped.
What did we think of Trick and Eddie? And that ending.
Trick Williams has to be one of the weirdest NXT champions of all time, and one of the weakest NXT babyface champions of all time. He loses more than any NXT babyface champion I can think of in a long while. Like Gargano didn't lose this much. He got pinned not once but twice in this match. Thorpe pinned him earlier with the ref bump. He got a visual count of like 6 or 7. Then he gets a double down. I think this is, it's a bizarre angle.
This to me was a Shawn Michaels trying to be very, very clever about his own career show, because he had the Lost His Smile, which also happened in Lowell, and then you had the quote-unquote double pin, which he also had done. He's pulling out all the Shawn Michaels greatest hits things, and to me, I am slightly getting annoyed with that, because this isn't a Shawn Michaels vanity project to me. I'm trying to watch WWE.
And are you doing anything? Are you doing anything with Eddie Thorpe with this?
Yeah, that's
is this getting him anywhere? I mean, I don't. Does he end up? I mean, the move here, if I'm completely honest, is you put him in a 3-way match.
That's what's going to happen, I think.
Right, and you have him win the title there.
Oh, he's not winning the title. I don't think.
But that to me is the move. You have him win the title. I know. Hear me out. They've written themselves into a corner with this, and I discussed the problematic nature of this Thorpe angle last week. But I think a very interesting move at this point, given all the strokes you've done, is you have Thorpe win the title and you build the characterization around this guy being ruthless.
Okay.
That Eddie Thorpe is ruthless. That he will do effing anything to win these matches, to work an angle, that like everything is on the table. That he uses every trick of the trade. And that's how he wins the title.
Well, then
he's ever resourceful.
Two things, because these are also both these tie into 2 points I want to bring up. Number one, I don't give him the title after watching Obafemi murder death Axiom like that. That was just beautiful in every way. But also, then you should have given Eddie Thorpe the lose the smile gimmick versus Ethan Page.
I don't give Obafemi the world title. We need to get this onto somebody who can effing work. And like Femi can do gimmick matches where the other guy works for him.
Okay.
Axiom. But Obafemi as like the guy who needs to do most of the stuff, I think he stinks. I mean, he's more mobile than some of the other big guys that they've had in the past, but he's not great. He's not. He all of his mid-card championship matches have been underwhelming affairs, Jeff.
Okay.
Like, you saw Axiom bump his ass off for him this week, but It wasn't like 3 weeks ago you were on here going, Chris, you need to sit your ass down as I tell you about Obafemi and Tony D'Angelo having a 5-star classic. Obafemi brought out the absolute best out of Tony D. Do you remember that? Do you remember it?
I will never use the term 5-star classic ever.
You do that. You never said any of those things. You never said that Obafemi brought out the best of Tony D.
Okay.
Nor have you ever said that Obafemi has brought out the best in anybody.
Fair.
Yeah. So,
but
tap your brakes.
Let's go to the second half of that then.
Yeah.
We're reestablishing Ethan Page as the ruthless guy against Leon, and that should be then Eddie Thorpe to me. Not that I don't like Ethan Page as more vicious, but I want there to be an alpha dog of viciousness. And I think if you're going to do that, you can't then make Eddie, your Kaiser Soze type, unless he takes out an Ethan Page type as the threat to him. Somebody has to
see. I think he needs to take out Obafemi, because here's the other problem with Obafemi as champion. Beyond the stinky matches, the crowd's going to turn him face, and then the matches are going to get worse.
Yes,
because now you're going to make this guy who doesn't do a good job
do the
self
thing every time he walks.
Every single time. They're never going to let him be a heel.
Right.
So, which is the only way any of that shit would be any good in the first place.
So have Eddie Thorpe just absolutely,
kill
him out.
He takes
for like
out his knee.
3 months or something.
I want him to cheat like hell in this match. Like it's a 3-way match.
I'm with you there.
It's no disqualification. Yeah, like he comes out with every weapon in the book.
And it's not even a cheat to win. It's a cheat to hurt him and then win type of thing. Okay.
I know. I mean, because I think there's actually a chance to get nuclear heat on Eddie Thorpe. He takes out Obafemi and he takes out Trick Williams, and then
he takes out Ava when he tries to stop him.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like Ava even tries to interrupt the match, and Thorpe's like, "It's all legal," and just pushes her out of the way.
Yeah, I'm here for that. I'm here for that type of thing. And then Ava has to bring in Hikuleo or whoever. But
right. Like this, he becomes the truly out of control champion, but
in control at the same time, because he knows exactly what he's doing. That's what I like. I need to keep the cerebralness. I don't want him to be an out of control animal. I want him to go, I am doing this because you're allowing me to do this. Like you said, it was a no DQ. So if I end up breaking his leg, he has to continue until I pin him. This isn't a stoppage type thing unless I say you can stop this.
I follow the rules, Ava. I follow the rules. I didn't attack him before the match. Yeah, like basically, like I want him in his own head to have a sense of honor that conflicts with other people's senses of honor, but is at once logically coherent and predictable. That you could actually predict behavior based off of his ideology.
Or I'm going to take advantage of the rules you give me.
Right, which is the ideology, right? I mean, within the rules, it's a no disqualification triple threat match.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm going to take off the pad of the turnbuckle. I'm going to handcuff this guy so that I can get a pinfall.
I'm going to hire the Tony D'Angelo family to take out Trick Williams so that it's just one-on-one. Something. You can do a lot of things.
Or I mean, hire Tony. That would be an interesting move, too. Turn D'Angelo heel against Obafemi because they do have history at this point.
Yeah, you just pay somebody to take one of the guys out, and then he can do the rest. Did you like the Ethan Page, Javon Williams?
No, because I just feel like Ethan Page is going around and around and around. I just want him out of NXT at this point. If this is what we're going to do with this guy. And like Javon Evans continues to just be a charisma vacuum. One of the strangest takes to me that I've heard echoed by several people is like, this is one of the most charismatic guys they've had in NXT in years. And I'm just like, do you watch the show? Have you ever watched the show? Like, really? Like this guy?
We have a bro on NXT versus a bruv on AEW.
Yeah. Like, he's a guy.
I got nothing else on the Lazy River. If you'd like to intro Vader Club, you can, or you can go on, and if you have another point here, I apologize.
Let me see if there is anything else.
Because I really don't want to talk about Carmen Petrovich and the Sweet Valley High love story.
Okay. Well, hold on though. What we do need to talk about is Metaphor coming in late for worst match of the year contention here. With this tag team match. Holy hell. This was the Sol Ruca Zarya versus Metaphor match was like staring into the toilet bowl as it swirls but refuses to flush. This was an awful match. Lash Legend has had so much time to develop, and even at this stage, she's still not good. There might be a role for her as an outside of the ring type of figure, someone, as somebody's heavy, but as an actual in-ring talent, she is clumsy and clunky. Zarya was doing all she could to suplex her, and there was a terrible call to try to suplex her. Yes. That looked awful. Everything, I mean, there were so many bad spots.
Why would you put
match.
Your new powerhouse in Zarya in the same ring as Lash Legend this soon in? Because Lash Legend just dwarfs her.
Yeah.
I will give you some intel from the Brian and Vinny show on Wrestling Observer, is that Vinny found the mistake of the missed tag between Sol Ruca and Zarya one of the funniest things he'd ever seen, where they missed the tag and she just kind of looks for a moment and they do the other tag type thing. I wasn't there with that, but I can understand why you would find that hilarious because they covered for it well in terms of two people. The problem is it was two people who were supposed to be huge baby faces who were just getting the crap beat out of them out of these giants in Metaphor. I think this match was a mistake. I think it was overselling what you saw at the Iron Survivor.
There should have been a squash match against just like two bratty local talents. Yeah, this Zarya should have got a chance to basically kind of show off to Sol Ruca a little bit. And Sol's like, hell yeah, I got a badass new partner.
Yeah, these two did so well in the Iron Survivor and did so many cool spots. We're going to put them in a work rate match against Metaphor. And it just,
So if you're going to do that, you need people who can work. And I'm not saying Jakara couldn't. Jakara Jackson, Jakara Jackson's in the midst of an identity crisis in terms of what this wrestling gimmick is that she's doing, both cosmetically, but also in the ring with the moves and everything. She has something there. Like I see it, but I'm not seeing it with this boomaloom pants, like weird outfit.
She should be working as a giant, and she's not.
Jakara's not that big. You're thinking of Lash.
I'm thinking Lash. My fault. You're right.
Yeah. Jakara's small.
Although Jakara's not tiny though. She's still big for that women's division. I mean, remember when they did the SmackDown women's tag title match? She was still bigger than Io and Kyrie, who are tiny. So it's one of those things. But yeah, I would agree there. She needs a little bit more seasoning before doing this kind of match.
And with Lash, it's very much get her working with a big man coach, someone who can teach her how to do a shoulder block that looks devastating. She comes out the ropes and she just shoulder tackles your ass down. She comes off the ropes, and instead of throwing these garbage ass kicks, oh my God, the kicks.
Yes.
The kicks have got to stop. Kicks have got to stop. Instead of throwing those, like, a good clothesline, a solid shoulder block, like she needs to have slow, methodical moves that look devastating. A fireman's carry into a pancake. Stuff that looks like it hurts.
Matt Bloom is down there in developmental. This is what he should be doing with her. Yes, I would agree.
Yeah. I don't. I'm trying to see if I've got anything else. I think that's everything.
I'll give you one other thing here. Then
what you got?
from AEW, I liked the MJF thing. I know a lot of people didn't, but I thought that was quote unquote good MJF in terms of doing the Sally Struthers telethon thing with Adam Cole. I have no interest in this program. It stinks. And
I did actually have to look at the picture twice to see that it wasn't photoshopped because
I understand. Let's get to Vader Club. Chris has selected from WCW Saturday Night. What's the date in '96?
Man, I believe this is right around Uncensored, which typically
let me see if I can find it here real
May, because like this is when the Regal and Finlay or Belfast Brawler feud started. And would kind of roll through Uncensored and then kind of continue here on WCW Saturday Night.
There is no date on the video.
The playlist I sent you, most of them, I think, yeah, they're happening when. Okay, let me see. WCW Uncensored 1996 was in March. They do Uncensored in March.
This is probably January or February.
I think this would be April because most of this television feud picks up after the Uncensored match. They have a match on Uncensored, and then and that one's not bad either. And then they proceed to have just a series of matches on WCW Saturday Night. This is kind of picking up from my deep dive of Fit Finlay here over the last few weeks. I did like a bunch of preparation for another show, and then I got sick because life hates me. And I eventually settled in on like who's my favorite opponent for him. I really like Steve Regal and Finlay because they wrestle that classic European style. They clearly have a lot of respect for one another, and they're always game for each other's more diverse move sets. Even a later match in WWE, these guys have such a good chemistry that they actually have a collared elbow tie-up that goes all the way from outside of the ring, all the way to back in the ring, all the way into the corner of the ring. They just stay in a collared elbow the whole time.
Now, this is heel Steven Regal, I believe.
Right, but he's sort of working as a babyface.
Well, but I think Belfast Bruiser here is kind of the unknown because I think they want him to be a heel against other people, but he is a baby. I thought he was the babyface in this match.
Ultimately, that is where WCW settles in weeks 2, 3, 4. In this first match, it's a little bit more unclear, and it's like the crowd is behind Regal because he's the guy they know. And the Belfast Bruiser also comes out, snarls at the crowd, is dressed up like one of the Road Warriors' Irish cousins, Rowdy Roddy McWarrior.
A fantastic mullet on film.
Majestic, really. It flows like an Irish waterfall. It is an Irish spring, is what it is. And no. Boo yourself. Don't boo vote. So anyways, this match, we get a lot of Steve Regal on the attack. And then even when he's selling, he's sort of selling in a semi-sympathetic, although still over-performative, little overselling Steve Regal way. But then the match ends with Dave Taylor and Bobby Eaton coming in. That's the one you're talking about. That's the one you watched, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Because there's the thing. I sent you a playlist. There's a series of matches. They had a couple more. They're all the same type of work, but I really enjoy the dynamic here. I enjoy Regal's babyface question mark comeback is fun.
Here's what I enjoyed a lot. Number one, Dusty, because Dusty was into this match.
Yes.
Dusty wanted to watch some clubbering, and he got some clubbering. The stiffness to begin with especially the clothesline on the outside of the ring. I believe it was Bruiser on Regal, or it might have been the opposite, but they are laying it in the beginning. And then we get into the ring, and it's more small joint manipulation and like tearing at the eyes and nose and mouth. And this is where Regal and the overacting really is a service to the match, because you believe it, even though they're not really doing anything with like
He
the ankle
sells to the
locks
back
and
of the
stuff.
house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's really, really good stuff. This is a series of matches, and I put on the first one. I didn't send the playlist, but if you go to it and the link either in the Discord or
it should
Shake
take you
Them
into that
Ropes,
little playlist.
it is there. There's like 8 videos here. They're all very, very good. But yeah, no, Finlay and Regal are great. I did not enjoy WWE Finlay.
I don't either. I had that same thing. Like Hornswoggle in my reviews, Hornswoggle just does nothing. He does.
There's a little more mystery to the Belfast Bruiser. You know, he's
I even just like Fit Finlay. Like I like this big angry guy who like his moves are a double stomp and a tombstone pile driver. Everything he does looks like it's gonna hurt like hell. And he's kind of just no nonsense. I really enjoy that element of him.
In terms of little things that I enjoy when anybody does it, because both EO, Sky, and Finlay do this, the dick move of when you're walking over a guy, just stepping on his stomach and going to the turnbuckle. I adore that. When EO does it, it's hilarious to me because she's like 3 pounds. When Finlay doing it, I'm going, oh God. Even Dusty kind of grimaced at it on this one. Dusty is in a full pay window mode kind of a thing, but he's loving the toughness. This is one of those things where it felt like it had woken him up a little bit with Shivani, where he was just kind of in a this is WCW Saturday Night. I'm getting over the stories. I'm getting over whatever. Oh, here we go. Here's something that interests me, and I can finally get into this. And that's always the best Dusty to listen to.
Yeah, I agree. Dusty clearly a fan of a young Steven Regal, and I think he underappreciated how much of a benefactor Dusty was to young Steve.
Had you ever seen early Steven Regal when he came into WCW as a babyface?
No,
because that's what he was originally. He was a white meat babyface in the vein of Chris Adams.
Or like, or even like Alex Wright, which is kind of what they try to do too.
A little bit, yeah. But I mean, like pure as the driven. I mean, this may shock you. Charisma Vacuum as a babyface.
No, I believe it.
Look those up. Look some of the promos up. Like at wrestling, he was fantastic. But they do these promos. I'm just here to entertain the people, and I do love America. Those types of things. You're just like, my God, this guy sucks. And then they turn him heel, and he's awesome. And you're like, all right, now I see it. Now I get it. But yeah, I think we'll end it there. We're going to record a holiday or episode for the holiday, so you put in your backlog. It's our Ask Us Anything, but Chris and I will also, I think we're going to assign each other a Vader Club just to get a little bit more audio in there over the next couple days. Are you down for that?
I'm down for that. That's cool.
Okay,
That's cool with me. Cool with me.
This is Shake Them Ropes.
Daddy-o.
Daddy-o. You can follow me on X at CrapGame13. You can just follow the show at Shake Them Ropes. Chris is only on the gram at DOCTOR_NOV. That is Dr. Nove. They call me Dr. Nove. I also do a show over on Fight Game Media called The Dynamite Show. About 20 minutes after Dynamite goes off the air, Paul Fontaine and I thoroughly deconstruct that week's Dynamite and all the AEW happenings. As I said, there's also an extra holiday episode there for you because we skipped Wednesday Thanksgiving and we review the December 19th or December 18th, 2019 Dynamite that ends with the Dark Order, quote unquote, taking over. And we kind of compare it to all the problems there. Do you remember Awesome Kong with Brandy Rhodes, Chris? It's the Nightmare
Oh my
Collective.
God. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Sadie Gibbs, the future of the AEW women's division, had an appearance in that show too. So that was a fun
Sadie
watch. That's
Gibbs.
all on your podcatchers right now. For the holidays, hey, Chris just got canned. Go buy some friggin' music lessons from him so he can
No
be a rich
shit.
man.
Come on, people. Like, let's get some music lessons here. Dr. Nove is my name. Buy your kid a guitar, buy him music lessons. You hadn't really thought about what you're going to get them for Christmas. Now you know. I've helped you. And you can help me by getting guitar lessons from me if that is what you are interested in doing. Guitar lessons, bass lessons, drum lessons, music production, songwriting, even a little bit of basic piano. All of these things and more are provided by yours truly for an extremely affordable, extremely competitive rate. Message me more or message me to find out more. Go and check out music I put out earlier this year. Apparently, no one's doing that anymore. I kind of get it. I mean, it's like you hear what I put out, and then you got your shit that you're gonna listen to anyways. And I do. I'm not listening to my stuff. I'm listening to the same funk stuff that I always listen to. So, but if you could go circle back around, I made 29 cents earlier this year. Jeff Hawkins with nearly 5,000 plays, and I figure if we put the combined forces of the Shake Them Ropes Army on this, you guys could maybe make me a dime on Spotify if you guys just set it and put it on repeat and then just keep playing it.
We'll see you next week.